Hi, everybody. My name is Peter Ambler. I'm the Executive Director of Giffords, the gun violence prevention launched and led by former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, who is joining us here today. We'd like to welcome you to the Giffords San Francisco Gun Violence Memorial, which serves as a stark reminder of the epidemic of gun violence that continues and increases to plague our great state of California, the Bay Area, and of course, the country as a whole. In 2020, this state saw 3,500 gun deaths, representing a shocking 41% increase in murders. There is no single cause. Gun sales are up, police community trust is down, and the pandemic has led to an unprecedented social dislocation. But we do know some of the answers to addressing the gun violence epidemic. Two of them are simple: courage and determination. The courage of survivors, like many here, and those from the 101 California shooting, who over 25 years ago turned their grief into action, the determination of survivors to keep at it year after year, passing gun law after gun law, which has allowed us here in California to reduce the rate of gun violence over that amount of time in half. But that is not enough. California is not an island, and California must do more. For example, passing the Firearms Industry Responsibility Act. We need to keep the drumbeat going in Sacramento. We need to continue to invest in life-saving violence prevention work. And we need to shine a bright light on the inaction of Washington, D.C., where despite 90% of Americans who support universal background checks across the country, despite broad majorities of Americans who support deep investments in violence intervention programs and many other policies and investments, despite the need for President Biden to take further action, we have seen not enough. But we're surrounded here today by elected leaders, advocates, survivors, folks on the front lines who make it their day-to-day work to create the change we need for a safer city, a safer state, and a safer country. I am deeply honored to introduce San Francisco Mayor London Breed. Mayor, thank you so much for your leadership, and in particular for your support for the $1.5 million investment in violence intervention services.
Thank you. Thank you. And let me start by saying that it really is an honor to be here with our distinguished guests, including Gabby Giffords, and the work that she has been doing to address gun violence in this country has been extraordinary. And this is really how we connected, because sadly, this is why I got into politics in the first place. It had everything to do with growing up in a community where gun violence was normal, where in junior high school, it was easy for anyone to get access to buy or find a gun somewhere in your home. And this is in the Western Addition neighborhood where myself and Michael, who is joining us here today, where we grew up, too many funerals to count, and I wasn't even 18 years old. So when I think about all of these lives here represented in this way, 3,449 people during the year of 2020 in the state of California, dying in this state, in this very wealthy state, due to gun violence. Half of these people because of suicide, and African American men in particular, representing 4% of the population in this state, but 28% of those who died from gun violence. Kids ages 1 through 17, it's the second leading cause of death in the state of California. And in 2020, what we saw in San Francisco is that gun violence was the leading cause of death in our communities. So if we're seeing this happen time and time again, whether it's our synagogues or the Sandy Hook shootings that took place where our kids were murdered, and in so many situations, what is most frustrating to me is where's the compassion? Where's the leadership? Where's the courage? Because I'm certain, sadly, that everyone here in some form or another has probably been impacted by gun violence in some way, whether it's you directly or a family member. People in domestic violence situations, one of the leading causes of death is by a gun. So how do we get rid of this? How do we stop this? How do we make sure it's not one more? We can't give up this fight. The hurt is not just the people who are the victims directly. It's the families. It's the communities. It's the loss of life. It's the hurt and pain that carries on with you, especially with the mothers. And we're here with one of those mothers, one of those Lynette McElhaney, one of those courageous mothers who has taken her pain and used it to advocate for other mothers. Too much loss, too much hurt, too much pain. And so that's why we're here today, because it is important to shine a light on this and never to give up. As Gabby would say time and time again, never, ever give up on the need for change, on the need for justice, on the need to make sure that kids are not continuing to grow up in these environments where this is normal, because it is not normal.
That's right.
It is hurtful, it is painful, and it is devastating to our city, to our state, to our country. And we are better than this, and we can do better than this. And I am confident that the work that Giffords does with a number of the people who are actively engaged in this fight, we are going to get there, because we are not going anywhere. We're not going to give up, and we're going to continue to fight to end gun violence in this country. And thank you all so much for being here to support these efforts.
Thank you, Mayor Breed. As you heard from the mayor, there is no greater loss than the loss of a parent. Our next speaker has grievously lost, and she has also courageously fought for safer gun laws. I am very honored and proud to introduce former Oakland City Councilor and survivor Lynette McElhaney.
Good morning. It is an awesome privilege to stand with this leader, our congressional leader, and each of you who have lifted up the cause of ending gun violence in this country today. And I struggled to figure out what I would say in a political or a policy context that would help people understand the importance of now. We are surrounded by nearly 3,500 flowers, representing the lives of Californians only lost to gun violence in 2020. But if you think about that over a 10-year period and go back to 2010, you'd find a flower from my son, Victor McElhaney. I was thinking about Victor. I think about Victor all the time. He was the only son born to me, my only child, my only baby. I think about the promise that we've all lost in Victor. When Victor was born 2 months early, but right on time, he chose to come on April 13th. I say he chose because he was a very decisive child. He arrived right as Tiger was winning his first Masters, something I could not witness while Victor said, "Pay attention to me." He came in at 3 pounds, and we named him Victor because he had already beat the odds that said he would need to be in an incubator or be kept away from us for months when it was only weeks. And he came born to the drum. He came and brought music And by the time he was 3, he would tell me music was medicine. Mommy, don't you know that? And he would drum his way to the University of Southern California, where as a transfer student, he made the teachers feel welcome in their place. Because we told him wherever he stepped foot, it was his place to be and his place to serve. Victor brought love into this world. He drummed for bat mitzvahs, and he drummed for deaths, and he drummed for births, and he drummed in celebration. And he created music, and he gave so much love. If you've ever been touched by music, if you've ever been touched by a song, if it's ever given you comfort in a time of stress or reminded you of your joyous teenage years, you know the power of music. And I will tell you that on March 10th, 2019, a drummer was stopped from creating that memory or providing that humor or giving us that grace. Victor was my sunshine, but he was much more than that. He was a son of this great state. He was a son of his community. He chose to be a son of the world and wanted to share love, to heal all of the harms that would lead to the premature death of his god brother, of his cousin, of his nephew, and that would ultimately take his life just 30 days before he would have been 22. Now, people look at me and they say, "Oh, you're so strong." I don't know that that's true, because there's not a day in these past 3 years that I don't weep. There's not a day that I don't cry out, but there's no time to rest. As Marvin would say, there are too many mothers and fathers crying. Now, it would be one thing if we were just up against a disease that we couldn't identify. That's a fight for cancer, for viruses, for things that we bring science to. But this is something we can cure. We know what to do. And as Peter so eloquently told us, 90% of us, we can't get 90% of us to agree on the weather or the time of day. But 90% of Americans know that this is something we can do without and we must bring an end to. There are just a handful of wealthy people who profiteer on my pain. Please help me stop them. Please help me stop any other mother or brother or sister or cousin from living in this pain. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynette. Your courage as a survivor is just so remarkable. But you're also somebody who has been on the front lines of gun violence prevention for so long, and I want to make sure everybody knows of your instrumental role in Oakland passing Measure Z several years ago, which helped save countless lives in the city through the gun violence prevention services that it funded. I want to introduce somebody now who is likewise on the front lines of stopping gun violence. The wraparound services at UCSF have comforted victims, stopped cycles of violence from continuing, and saved so many lives. I'm very pleased to introduce Mike Texella.
Yes, my name is Mike Texella. I've been with the Wraparound Project over 16 years. We provide an array of services for individuals who are impacted by gun violence. Our mission is to really stop the revolving door of all the violence that's happening in our cities. And we provide an array of services as far as victim services, court advocacy, job opportunities, employment opportunities, and really just to highlight a few of our individuals, we have young folks who have been impacted by violence that are now in the medical field, and now they are also professors at San Francisco State.
Right.
Thank you.
Mike, thank you for your work and for your partnership. I'm now pleased, as Mayor Breed said, gun violence takes many, many forms. From the daily community violence, which devastates so many neighborhoods, suicide, but also the nexus between gun violence and domestic violence. Our next speaker is Scott Schell from Resolve to Stop Gun Violence, which is affiliated with the San Francisco Domestic Violence Consortium. Thank you, Scott.
Good morning. I've been working with RSVP let me back up. I started out as an inmate participant in RSVP in 1998. And so that means I've been doing this work for almost 24 years. It's my life's work. So I'm really honored to be here, but I also feel really sad to be here, right? And that's just how I feel. I feel sad about being here, and I feel like we shouldn't be here, but we need to be here, right? We need to be here. It's necessary that we're here. The impact of violence weighs really heavy on me. I get disillusioned at times. Sometimes I want to stop, but I can't stop, and I won't stop. I can't. I've experienced violence on all levels. I've worked with men who have sent a violent text. I've worked with men who have taken lives. Some might say, well, why are you still working with them? Well, my hope is they won't take another life.
That's right.
That's my hope, and that's my reality, right? So our program's based in the principles of restorative justice. And the first one is about accountability. And I can't help but notice the lack of accountability that's going on in our country. Mm-hmm. And it's about time that we all get accountable. Yeah. My job is to hold men accountable for their violence. That's my job, is to hold them accountable, and to hold myself accountable as well. So we really need to step up our game, because we're slipping. It's not working, right? Clearly it's not working. Well, I told Beverly when I walked up here and saw all the vases, I was really overcome, with that. 3,449 people in 1 year. I mean, that it just shouldn't happen. I was thinking about, and I know, people talk about the Second Amendment and stuff, and it was ratified in 1791. That was a long time ago. So guns have advanced. It's time that our policies advance. It's long time. Guns are far more advanced now, right? I mean, countless lives can be taken in a matter of seconds, right? It's like enough is enough. I work with men and I challenge belief systems. We call it Mr. BS, right? The male role belief system, right? And we address gender roles and socialization, right? And what men learn about what they're supposed to be as a man, right? And their role, and then what their partner's role is supposed to be, right? So my job is to challenge that ideology, right? And it's a societal construct that's been going on for literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, right? And so there's also some ideologies that we need to challenge around gun culture, right? It's just insane to me that, people are just so caught up with guns, right? It's time that we start taking on those belief systems around guns, right? And around people's right to have guns, right? There's certain, I understand people want to have, guns to protect themselves, but, if you're going to fight against a tyrannical government, good luck. They have drones and planes and tanks and bombs, and so good luck. That's not going to work out. Really quickly, I just want to mention some folks that I've lost over the years, clients and friends. Randolph Grayson was 23 years old. He died on March 24th, 03. He was a bright light. He had this infectious smile and personality. He was my first client that was lost in Visitation Valley in 03. Richard Fowler was 28 years old. He died on October 3rd, 2011 at home playing video games. He was shot in the head. Dante White was 22 years old. He died April 27th, 06. He was in class smiling with this big tooth-filled smile at me on a Tuesday night. On Thursday, he was gone. He was gunned down in front of countless people at the Ella Hill Hutch Community Center. I'll never see that smile again. Nor will his parents or his child or his, any of his folks, right? They're not going to see that. Reginald Shelton, 21 years old, 10/6/14. His PO and I just used to joke that he was our son, because he was. He was 19 or 20 when I started working with him. And he sat on many occasions at my desk, and I told him, look, man, you got to stop hanging out in the periphery, right? You're not part of that, right? You're going to hurt somebody or you're going to be killed. I told him that like 3 times. And unfortunately, I was right. That's so sad to me. He was such a baby. He had a baby face, and he had a baby on the way. So his baby was born, and then he was taken, right? So now there's another fatherless child. He just started out in life. Randy Armstrong, 54 years old. He was, it's coming up on a year. He was killed in Potrero Hill. He was a peer of mine in RSVP. He had quite an imposing presence. He stood 6'9", and he looked kind of scary. But to me, he was a big teddy bear, and I loved that guy, right? He was shot and killed in Potrero Hill on the 15th of May last year. Cleveland Reed was a former coworker of mine, a client then coworker, 29 years old. He was killed in Potrero Hill. Marlon Mayorga, 41 years old, 4/28/09, a former coworker and friend killed walking his dog in Oakland. He worked at UCSF with victims of violence, social worker. He was dedicated. Actually, when I started out, he would come and sit in our trainings, and we became close. And then he ended up actually becoming the director of the drug program I went through. And then he went on to continue his education and worked at UCSF. He was out walking his dog, and was shot and killed for no reason, other than maybe an initiation. I don't know. He wasn't robbed. I believe everything was in his wallet. David Lewis, 54 years old. He founded He was killed June 9th, 2010 at the Hillsdale Shopping Center. He was shot in the back. David Lewis was a giant physically in person and a giant in the recovery circles, right? He founded Free at Last in East Palo Alto. An amazing guy. I wish I'd gotten to know him more. And I can't now, right? I can't get to know him more. Recently, I lost a cousin to suicide by gun back east. She was a young mother of 2 kids, happily married. So just in closing, really briefly, I just want to put it out there, whoever's listening, if you need support, I'm here. You know what I mean? Reach out to me, right? If you need support, or if you know somebody who needs support, reach out to me. Please contact me, right? You can get me through the Sheriff's Department or through Community Works West, through our website. I'm definitely here to support anybody who wants it, right? All you need is a little bit of willingness to do some work, right? So with that, thank you again for allowing me to be here today. It's definitely an honor.
Thank you, Scott, for your courageous work and for those remembrances. I'm now proud to introduce my colleague, Robyn Thomas. She is the executive director of the Giffords Law Center, and somebody who has, for over 15 years, in addition to being one of the country's top experts on gun violence prevention policy, helped produce the policy gains that have helped us in this state achieve the declines in per capita gun violence that are so important to protecting our communities. Robyn?
On July 1st, 1993, almost 29 years ago, a gunman walked into 101 California Street, right here, one of the buildings behind us, and shot and killed 8 people, left 6 wounded, and forever changed the face of this city and the knowledge and understanding of this city of the toll of gun violence that can make any one of us susceptible to the havoc that it wreaks. The predecessor to the Giffords Law Center was founded in the wake of that tragedy, and the mission of the organization was to do anything and everything possible to reduce the toll of gun violence in San Francisco, in California, and in the United States. I'm proud to say that 29 years later, we've had tremendous success. Just since the shooting At Sandy Hook Elementary School, we've passed almost 500 laws at the state level. Since the shooting at Parkland High School, we've passed almost 250 laws at the state and local level. And just last year in 27 states, we worked to pass 75 laws across the country. So that progress, the progress that is happening every single day, is very meaningful. It is frustrating. It is absolutely maddening to us that the translation of that success, that the laws that have been passed in places like California and that have reduced gun violence and gun death in California by almost half, aren't something that is being taken up by our federal government. This is a problem that has solutions. We don't have to be looking at almost 3,500 flowers in the fields behind us. If the courage shown by the people who are partnered with us here today, who are standing behind me here today, was shown by our leaders in Washington, D.C., we wouldn't have to be holding so many funerals and holding these events to draw attention to this incredibly devastating problem. At Giffords, we are so proud of the work we do. We are so proud of the laws that we help pass. We're proud of the defense, Second Amendment defense of those laws in the courts. We have cases right now today sitting before the Supreme Court of this country and decisions expected next month. This is not a problem that's going to have an immediate solution in the courts, and we are going to fight as long and as hard as it takes until we have more success there. And most importantly, we are proud of our partnerships. We are proud of the fact that we stand with Youth Alive, with the San Francisco Wraparound Project, with the San Francisco Domestic Violence Consortium, with people who are in the trenches every single day fighting this fight, supporting their communities one life at a time. We know the folks at Youth Alive, the work they're doing with Ceasefire in Oakland, have reduced gun violence and gun death in Oakland by almost 50% in the last decade. That is tremendous. And we are so proud to work with them every day and to stand with them every single day in their fight and to bring every ounce of the power that we can to lift their voices and to make sure that this problem is never forgotten. This is something that we are committed to as an organization, as individuals, as a group, to fighting for until one day we don't have to stand here in front of these flowers. We don't have to hear from mothers who have tragically lost children. I think about that all the time, about how it would be possible to even get out of bed the next day or any day after losing a child. And the only thing that I hope is that this fight, the fight to prevent this from happening in the future to others, is what motivates us to never give up. And we are never, ever going to give up on this fight. And with that, I am so honored, so proud, and always just humbled to be here representing someone who I know we all feel so strongly is not just our namesake, but our inspiration, someone who shows us every day what it means to have courage, what it means to fight, what it means to believe in a future that is better than the one that we have today. And so, Gabby.
Our lives can change so quickly. Mine did when I was shot, but I never gave up hope. I chose to make a new start, to move ahead, to not look back. I'm relearning so many things, how to walk, how to talk, and I'm fighting to make the country safer. It can be so difficult. Losses hurt. Setbacks are hard, but I tell myself, move ahead. I'm finding joy in small things. Riding my bike, playing the French horn, going to the gym, laughing with friends. The small things add up. We are living in challenging time, but we are up for the challenge. My own recovery has taken years. Many, many people have helped me along the way, and I learned so much. I've learned when people care for each other and work together, progress is possible, a better world is possible. But change doesn't happen overnight. We can't do it alone. Join me move ahead together. Thank you very much.
Whether it's a windy day or the fight against gun violence, Gabby Giffords is up for any challenge. Something I just want to make note of is Gabby's recovery has taken years. Years and years. And that her recovery is the product not of a miraculous medical discovery, not a particularly awesome day of physical therapy, but sheer determination and hard work, day after day, hour after hour, minute after minute. And she inspires us because that's fundamentally what we have to do in the fight against gun violence. There's no silver bullet. The gun lobby is not gonna just walk away from the field. We have to rejoin this fight each and every day, push the ball forward, and save as many lives as we possibly can. Lynette made the point, we know what we need to do. The NRA wants us to feel hopeless, that gun violence isn't preventable when we know that it is. So that's why we're so honored to have our partners here together in this fight, to be working with all of you. And with that, we invite you to spend some time with the memorial today and for the rest of this week. And happy to answer any questions, which we can do if you have any now, or we can maybe do some pull-asides.